Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Welcome to ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Estamos aquí todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde. We're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hoy estamos celebrando el Día de la Mujer Internacional. Today we're celebrating Women's International Day. This is the month of March, which we also celebrate this is just Women's Month. So this is when we go extra above and beyond what we normally do on the other months for women. So we're going to go ahead and bring one of our favorite women, Maddie, so we can go ahead and get started. Hola, Maddie, ¿cómo estás?
Buenas tardes, ¿qué pasa, mujer? I'm good, Viviana. How are you?
I'm super excited. I love the month of March because it's Women's Month, because it's International Women's Month, because it's my birthday. So it's just a lot of things going on in the month of March. So I'm asking men to go above and beyond and truly celebrate us a little bit more than the other months, you know?
We deserve it.
Yes, definitely. I was reading some statistics and I'm going to read them to you. Because we always celebrate women here. ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Of course, by the obvious title of our show. But these are some statistics that I read today. So women-owned businesses make up about 39% of all businesses in the United States. So 39%. And we employ about 12.9 million workers. Nearly 49% of new businesses in the United States are women-owned. And this is just in the United States. This is not in the world. So I think that is an amazing contribution that we have towards the economy. Latin women contribute $1.3 trillion to the economy every year. So you see all that stuff Maddie's wearing and I'm wearing? That is all contributing to the economy of the $1.3 trillion. Since 2010, Latinas have accounted for nearly 30% of the growth of the labor force. So I think these are like amazing numbers that we must celebrate. And I'm going to tell you one more. Latina-owned businesses saw revenue growth of more than 60% between 2019 and 2024. So a 60% growth in our businesses as well. I just think, sometimes I'm a business owner and people come to my business and we dialogue about the service that I provide. But I think we don't sit down to think about, wow, like what has Viviana gone through to get her business to the way that it is, right? What are Viviana's struggles on a daily basis? What are some challenges that she's going through? She's here in my face for an hour, but I wonder what her morning was like, or, stuff like that. And I think this is, I love to talk about empathy because a lot of us don't know what the word empathy means. And of course, it's hard to apply empathy towards other people. So I just, even my relationship with Maddie has really allowed me to be empathetic to another world that exists, right? So like poetry, being a mother of a daughter, because I don't have any daughters, I have only sons. So even that is a little bit different as well. So I just want to thank you, Maddie, and I want to applaud you for everything that you do. And you have shared a lot of your challenges here on the show. We've seen tears and all of that. So I love it. And I want to thank you for your heart, I guess, is what I would. Yes.
Thank you, Viviana. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Feliz Día Internacional de la Mujer. It's beautiful because sometimes we feel not seen, so it's beautiful. I'm not going to say to be seen only during 1 month, but to get some time to kind of dedicate and celebrate to everything that we do. Because I think a lot of the times, everything that we do, or a lot of the things that we do on a daily basis, get taken for granted. So, so it's good to take a pause and be able to be thankful for the little things as well. Because I think, again, the little things is what makes the full picture. So, thank you to you. Thank you, for the push, for the inspiration. If it were not for you, we would not be here, sitting and saying that we've been Que Pasa Mujer for over 3 years, you know. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you thinking of me and saying, you know what, I can spend an hour a week talking to Maddie about
Mhm.
stuff. So I appreciate that. And also, again, for your inspiration, for your push. I think, when you meet people, and you're attracted to people, for different reasons. And everybody has a place in our lives. And, you are a great inspiration, una luchadora fuerte, your family, your mother, your grandma, your whole story, and I thank you for all of it as well. So
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. But yeah, I believe in my thoughts and my energy and the energy that I feel from other people. And definitely, you were one of those people that I kind of thought about. I know when Mark and I first met, I had never thought that we could do a show like this one. And you always say it a lot. We are very appreciative of the platform that we have here because we're able to um, give an example, show what women are, our core, how we are, and also just the different challenges that we go through. And it's a reminder to ourselves and to other people of our life. We wake up and we take for granted that we're able to get up with our two legs and stand up and walk to the bathroom. And some people can't do that. And so I think it's just being grateful, providing gratitude, giving ourselves grace. I know we always mention that. And I
mhm.
think this is a great month to celebrate that. Yes, we love the men as well. Don't get jealous, guys. We love you guys as well, but I think it is a good it's just something to kind of, like you said, Maddie, like don't take for granted. I know I text both of my sons this morning and I told them, hey, today is International Women's Day. Make sure that you appreciate the women in your lives, just to kind of give them a reminder. But I just think it's amazing the things that we do. I Today, my mom had a get together with about 10 women, and one of them might be in her 30s. Everybody else is like 60 plus. And when we finished, they were just talking, and I'm just sitting at the table listening to the wisdom that they're sharing. And they're talking about relationships and make sure you take care of your man. But one of the ladies, and this is representation of all countries: Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Puerto Rico, Mexico. That's who was here today. But just to kind of hear the wisdom, and I wanted to get your take on this, Maddie. But they were saying when it comes to relationships, right, setting boundaries. They were talking about domestic violence and how some of them have been in a situation like that. Some of them, the man, and they're talking about when they were in their 20s and 30s, but they're 60 now. But I think it is so relevant. This particular week, I found out about two different females are in a domestic abusive relationship. And the ladies today, they said, a man will try to physically hurt you, but it's just how you respond that initial moment, right? So some of them talked about pulling knives, some of them talked about just getting in their face or slapping them, or, but so important as to how that person responds, the initial view of abuse. And then that sets the precedence of, is it going to happen more, or he's
Mhm.
going to know, oh, I can't mess with her like that. I
Mhm.
wanted to get your input about that.
I think that's a very fine line, and I think again it depends on the person, because it depends on the man, like yes, we have to put our hearts out, but sometimes men will push and push and push, you know, and sometimes if we give in, you know, they'll do a little bit more and a little bit more. So yeah, like you said, it's a hard stop. You know, again, every situation is different, because I believe, you know, depending on the values of that man, you know, how that person grew up, there's so much that goes into that, you know, because you can have an altercation and then you can sit down and say, you know, this is a hard limit for me. You know, if this ever happens, if this gets out of hand, this is a no for me. I'm walking out of this relationship, and things like that. And if that person, you know, again, has been instilled those values into them, you know, they will be able to respect that, or know how to respond in the future, you know. But if a person, you know, slaps you and, you know, you're like, oh, you know, don't do that again. If you do that again, I'm leaving, but you stay, then guess what's going to happen? They're going to slap you twice next time. And then, you know, it's just going to keep happening. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, oh yeah, if a person touches you, walk away and that's the end of it or whatever. Every situation is different, you know. But you do have to kind of value yourself, your priorities, like you said at the beginning, those boundaries, you have to set your boundaries. And, you know, and a lot of the times set the example, because you have little ones, you know, especially if you have little ones, you know, around you, you definitely have to think for more than just yourself. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was another topic they talked about, which is aligned with the abusive, was and again with the setting boundaries. Even though we're married, I have a life and you have a life.
mhm.
So I'm still going to go out and hang out and have a social life. And so are you. But they were saying a lot of young people today are like sharing location and telling, you know, the spouse or the boyfriend, I'm going out with such and such, or, so I just think relationships have evolved throughout the years, and some things are similar, some things are different,
Mhm.
but I think overall, in my experience, it's a respect thing,
Mhm.
right? It's a respect and acceptance of the other person. So if my mate wants to do a show every Sunday at 4 o'clock, and sometimes that's like before dinner time, like what an inconvenience, right? But then that's where conversation happens to say, hey, I won't be able to.
Communication.
Yeah, communication. I won't be able to do the show on Sunday, producer Mark. So let's, do a show that was previously ran, or let's pre-record or something like that, right? But I think it's the communication piece. So I kind of like that they mentioned that as well, because a lot of the times you don't hear those conversations about the life that we are married, we are as one, but we are individuals at the same time.
Hmm. And I think that's very different from maybe, like you mentioned, a lot of them are older, from our parents, you know, because, you know, maybe when my mother was young, you know, it's like you get married, and, you know, in our countries, you know, a woman gets married, she goes from her parents' house into the husband's, you know, and just becomes part of, you know, this is her own household, but she is involved into his life. It's not like she brings her life with her and they, you know, join lives. No, she becomes part of his world, you know. And that's kind of what, you know, kind of grew up seeing, you know. And now, like, for example, for me, you know, I know that when I was about to leave my house, it was important that that I finish my education, you know, that I had an education, that you had something to fall back on, you know, make sure that you know that you can do this, that you don't have to do it that way, you can also do it this way. You have choices, you have options, you know. And like you said, you know, keep your individuality, you know. Sometimes we do make the mistake, and sometimes it's not a mistake, it just sometimes happens to be that way, where everything is just so, you know, commingled, and everything is just, you know, so together. But I think it's important, you know, not to lose sight of who you are, of the things that you like, that it is okay to like something other than, you know, to have similar tastes or different tastes, you know. You know, I love watching baseball, don't mind watching baseball at all. I don't know nothing about football, but I will sit and watch a football game, you know, if I have to, but every Sunday, probably not, you know? So, but that's just my preference, can I, watch a
Well, you
basketball
get her
game?
a couple of weeks with Bad Bunny.
That's true. That is true. And I'm still watching it. But still, just keep your individuality, and it is okay to be, who we are as people. And I think that is something that this generation, that it keeps evolving. And I do see where we are more independent, but like you said, the sharing the location, technology, and things like that, sometimes, what started as a level of protection, like if you go out at night, I just need to know where you are in case something bad happens, has become something that is used to control, and kind of like an invention, almost as an invasion of privacy sometimes, So
That
again,
is
that
really
fine
true.
line.
Yeah, yeah. I still haven't evolved to the whole sharing location stuff. I just haven't. The only time that I really use it is if one of my friends that's single is going out on a date for the first time. I'm like, share your location. But outside of that, estoy perdida. I wish you the best. Like I think at some point it doesn't matter how old you are, you do know the difference between right and wrong, most of us, right? Even my son that's 15, he knows that if he goes out with his friends and they're about to get into something that is probably not something positive, you already know pretty much the consequences. I was adamant about my children knowing how to play chess, and I mentioned that to them all the time. You know that it's not just one move, like there's multiple moves, and
Hmm.
you should be able to foresee the next two or three moves before you make your move.
Hmm.
Uh, so I use that against them all the time. And they're like, Mom, really? I'm like, yes, all the time. Like, there's even a book that I was reading a couple of months ago, and they mentioned playing chess in a business aspect. So even as a business owner, like, I know if I do this, marketing, right? If I do this, people are going to do this. You know what I'm saying? I always mention chess because I think it helps me with my case about why you just did something messed up, right? Um, but yeah, I just think it's awesome the conversations that were happening today with the ladies. What else did they say? Just the setting boundaries, the independence, the loving on yourself. One of the ladies, she was walking out and she said, there's studies that say longevity. The percentages of longevity to create longevity in your life is to have a social life, to laugh and to enjoy relationships and to enjoy gatherings. And one of the things that when you were talking earlier, I wanted to mention one time that I went to your house. I love how you and your husband care for both parents on both ends of the family. So like your dad and then your husband's mom and dad, and how you guys take care of them. And I just think that that's amazing. I'm sure it's not perfect. I'm sure there's arguments at times or somebody gets on somebody's nerves. But at the end of the day, when stuff happens, everybody's there for everybody. And I think it's that union, that strength that is what we call family, right?
Hmm.
And I think I mentioned it a couple of months ago when my mom went on vacation, and it was just my grandmother and I, and a lot of the ladies came and they helped. They came and they checked on my grandmother, or even if it was just a phone call. It's very appreciative. But um, there are a lot of challenges as we do life. Some of the things, kind of like that work life balance. One of the ladies saying, she was like, yeah, we like have to cook every day, clean every day. Da, 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 da. I'm like, I don't cook every day, you know. I keep my room clean and the common areas clean, but I'm not cooking every day. I like to cook, and when I do cook, it tastes good, but I don't want it to be an obligation. And that's the word that she used, like it's best when it's appreciated and it's not done out of obligation. I know that you're a foodie, Maddie. And then tell me, I wanted to ask you, how has food evolved in your household? Because I know, especially us for Latinos, food really is the circle of what we do when it comes to conversation, talking, and spending time together. How has food evolved in your house now that your kids are grown?
Definitely a lot. So the kids are more independent now. Before it was more, like I don't know what the kids have been eating throughout the day. So let me just make sure that they have, a good meal. So you know, like touch on all the basics. They have their protein, their carbs, their veggies. And I know that at least one of the three, was complete. So it was more like that thought behind it, make sure that they would eat something, and that we would eat something together. Because like you said, that's the one thing that I could always, appreciate. My husband was always has been very big, and, we will have this meal together, and my kids, kind of grew up seeing that. And sometimes, my daughter's like, oh, I don't want to eat. I don't care. You sit on the table and you watch us eat, then, so it was always that. Now that the kids are older, it's again, it's a little bit different, because sometimes, they want to eat what they want to eat. Sometimes they don't want to eat, and, I can't make them anymore, but for the most part, my I will say my boys are for the most part respectful. They still like mama's cooking. So anytime, mom, what are you cooking? I hate that question. So they know better. I'm like, what am I cooking? And they're like, food, because that's my answer always. What are you cooking? Food. So they will still, sit down and eat, if they are, here, in the house. So if my husband is home, I will, like, today, I did cook a full meal, so when we get off the show, we'll sit down and eat. But I did married a traditional Dominican man. So to him, food is rice and meat, and, like the whole thing, that's dinner. So I try at least, 3 or 4 times a week, to cook a real meal. And sometimes it's like, I'm not coming today, so he'll make something or improvise or whatever. So we try to work it out, but for the most part it's just him, my dad, and me, like the ones that we worried about, eating. So but yeah, it's definitely different now that the kids
Yeah.
are older.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. And it'll be interesting once they get married and see what the dynamic of their household. Uh, because most women, I can't say that most women cook, but I know with my oldest son, him and his girlfriend, they do meal planning sometimes. So they both cook. So I guess we
That's
can't
awesome.
we can't stereotype the young ladies. Um, and I think also as we become older, Maddie, becoming the caregiving changes, right?
Hmm.
So we take care of the little babies, and sometimes we go in neglect. I know I did when I had my kids when they were younger. I remember having like my hip was hurting after I had my second child, and I promise you, I was in that pain for like a year, and I didn't realize it until I went to get a massage, and I was like, "Oh my God, that hurts!" Right? And then I realized I have been hurting for a whole year.
Hmm.
And this lady massaged me 3 times and the pain went away. But I think we do that a lot. We do that a lot. We always taking care of,
Hmm.
the children, the husbands, ourselves. But then as we get older now, for me, I'm taking care of still my kids and just in a different capacity.
Hmm.
It's more going in my wallet type of taking care of. And then taking care of my mom and my grandmother, paperwork, doctor's appointments, conversations, decision making. So it has really evolved. And sometimes it is tiring. Um, I don't take it for granted. I'm glad that I have the mental capacity to do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because there are times that it is stressful, and you're like, oh my God, like what do I do? Or I know for me, there's times that I feel overwhelmed because there's too many things happening in one day. Something with work, something with my kids, something with my mom or my grandmother, and then I'm just tired.
Hmm.
You know, so I wanted you to talk a little bit about your life and how that plays a role in your life today as you're older.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember, when the kids were little, or let me backtrack. When I was a stay-at-home mom because after I got pregnant with the twins, I got to stay home for a little bit, and I want to say about 4 or 5 years, I was at home, with the kids, and that was very different, because it's like one of those things that, I mean, like your day never stops, but it was like it was constantly going, so I will wake up and get the kids ready to go to school. The kids will go to school. Then that was, the time to kind of clean up and get ready. So when the kids came back from school and, make lunch, and then, put the boys down for a nap. And then my daughter comes in the middle of the afternoon. Then, we got to do homework, and then dinner got to be ready because the husband is coming home from work. So, got to feed him, and then got to clean up the kitchen, and then kind of make sure that I get ready because, when my boys started going to school, they had to be out the door by 6:50 in the morning. So, my day will start like really early with the kids, so, and then now it's just, a different type of busy. I am, a career woman, so I have to get up early and, go to work. And then at the same time, I get the phone call. My husband calls me at work. What are we eating today? I don't know. I'm not home. I'm at work, so that kind of thing. And then come home and then try to, make dinner. But like you said, there's a lot of moving parts now that are not necessarily in one spot. So before, like I said, my day was busy, constantly going, but it was all home related. Now there's so many things, that are not necessarily all happening in the house. So it's, did I pick up my dad's medication? My son is living in Tennessee. Okay. And he's graduating this year. So it's like, okay, Friday was the deadline to order your cap and gown. You order, like I spent 2 days texting him. Yeah, I'll do it tonight. So it's like calling him, reminding him that, he had away games, it's like, do you have all your stuff? Do you need anything? Do you have shoes that fit? Like graduation is not until, it's like 2-3 months from now, but it's like, do you have shoes that fit? Do you need pants? Do you need shirt? And like my son is 22, but still, thinking about all these things because I know as a mom, I'm going to get that call the day before the graduation. Mom, I don't have a shirt that fits. Or I don't have socks to wear with these shoes. I know all of that is going to happen. So, I'm trying to kind of address them before they happen. But again, it's a different type of busy now that everybody's older, but it's still busy, and it's still like you said, your head has to be able to be in different spaces. It was funny because I was talking to somebody, and we were talking about raising kids, and she was like, raising adult children is definitely challenging, and I was like, yes, we have in our mind that, oh, I raise my kids until they're 18, and then after that, you don't wash your hands off of it. It just, you still a mom. It just becomes a little bit different, but now they have an opinion, and they can make their own decisions, and it makes it even harder for us, but it doesn't stop.
Yeah, oh my God, definitely. My son is 21 and my youngest is 15. But with the oldest, I would definitely say is more challenging in the aspect of he drives, his opinion, like you said. He has a job, like schooling. So it's like I have less control because I really don't know where he's at times. Versus with
Mhm.
my youngest son, I know he's at school from this time to this time. I pick him up, get him something to eat, then I take him back to basketball practice. So I kind of know where how his day is. But my oldest son, I don't. So I promise you, if I didn't have faith in my life, I would be a wreck because my brain will be going to so many places.
Mhm.
Car accidents, bad decisions, uh, just being in a situation that, oh my God, just so many things that could happen. Um, yeah, the challenge is definitely challenging. And it's a different type of challenge because, if you drop the kids off at daycare, you know where they're at, even though
Mhm.
things still happen, but at least you can control that part of it. Definitely challenging. Um, and I think too, I think that's why it's important to really select a good mate as you make decisions when you're young. Um, and I think about that because, like I grew up without my dad, so I really didn't get to see or hear. Of course, I had, uncles and cousins, male figures, but really for somebody to instill in me and say how important it is to select a good mate, I think it's crucial. And again, not to perfection, but to be able to say, like you mentioned earlier, like, hey, we have the situation, like, let's talk about it, let's work it out, let's see if we can work it out, right? So just to have an individual that you can have those conversations with,
Mhm.
I think is also ideal, because then we start to not believe in ourselves. We start to have low self-esteem. The childhood traumas that we had when you were younger can either be alleviated or they can be highlighted even more depending on
Mhm.
who you're with. Because sometimes stuff like that can like kind of sneak up. Sometimes I know, uh, things that have happened to me when I was younger, and I kind of did therapy on my own or went to therapy, but then you think that you're healed from it, but then something happens, and then you kind of get that feeling all over again.
Mhm.
So just being able to have that support system, either from your spouse. Sometimes I've even gotten support even from my own children at times, just to kind of have a conversation, or other women as well. My mom has this group of like 20, 30 ladies that they hang out with, and they see each other at least once a month. But I really see the support within women, and there's no like drama going on. Everybody comes, they partake, they talk, they give their opinion, everybody respects each other, and there's no chisme. And they've been doing this for like a year now, a year and a half. And I just think that the maturity in having those
Mhm.
conversations and those relationships is amazing, because usually we have the reputation of, you have a lot of women together, like something's going to pop off, and there's going to be some type of chisme, and somebody's going to be upset at something. And this is a great group of women that my mom kind of deals with. um, but I wanted to acknowledge Olga. She said, "Good to see you guys. Good to see you, ladies. Happy International Women's Day." But I think it was Lily also, and that acknowledged us. So we want to also acknowledge you, ladies, on this International Women's Day. And we love that you guys can share some time with us as we kind of talk about everything we're talking about, because we're like all over the place today, and celebration for women.
We're
Um,
women.
yeah, that's
Right.
what we do. That's what we do. We talk. And just a lot of like solution driven, or I know some of us like, and it's the personality, it's the personality and how we handle things. And I know through time, for me, being an only child, being a woman that was raised just by female energy, I've had my own challenges, but I can either turn them into something positive or something negative. So I think that's also important, in addition to us mentoring other people as well. So like when you mentioned earlier, Maddie, about, that I'm an inspiration to you, like vice versa. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about the importance of the mentorship of each other, regardless of the age. And I know you do it on a daily basis, but you do it extra through your poetry, because there's some people that you have tapped into that you don't even know that you have tapped into them.
Mhm.
So I wanted you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the best example. I mean, and I keep talking about her because like we say, we meet people, and we don't, like you said, we as people, we don't know the effect that we have on other people sometimes, and how much we may inspire other people, and you never know where you're gonna find that inspiration. So I met a young poet, and we became teammates last year. She's younger than my daughter. So immediately when I met her, it's like, oh, my baby, and I always talk about her, Luana Portales. She was my teammate last year, and
She's the one
I
that you
was.
brought to the award
Yes, to the
ceremony.
Unity Awards, yes. And she, when she came into the team, I was excited just to have somebody else that spoke Spanish, like I could, say bilingual stuff with, and she would definitely or totally get it, or talk about our topics that affect us, and she would totally get it. So I was excited, to be able to have that, and just learning about her, learning her story, and just the person that she is. I was telling her the other day, like so before that, she's an amazing writer. It's like that's number one. Like when I started reading her writing, it was like, oh my God, it's like, really? Are you only 20? Like, you sure you're only 24? It's like, I could not believe it. I was like, what? So, that surprised me a lot. And again, gave me a lot of inspiration, but then learning her story and the kind of person, that she is. She's very quiet, very mellow. She doesn't talk much. It's like you have to drag the words out of her. But then, when she opens up, it's like amazing. You're like, oh my God, all of that was in there. I know recently she started doing becoming a little bit of an activist, and she published a book, and she took a group of artists and got the artists to donate their artwork, to be able to donate to an organization. Like all the proceeds will be donated to an organization that helps families that are being affected by the ICE raids, and they shop for groceries and stuff for those families, so they don't have to go out in the streets. And again, it's a topic that is very personal to her, but I was just so proud of her for taking a stand and wanting to, help in the community, and, might not be making thousands of dollars, but any contribution that she makes, if she can help one family, I know that, it makes her, it fills her heart because she was able to help one person. So again, she is a great inspiration to me, not in one thing. And I keep telling her, I remind her every day, I say, you are the American dream, that this is the dream. She came, however she came to this country, she became a citizen. She is military, she served in the military, and she's about to graduate from college. She bought her own home, and I'm talking about a 25-year-old. She's 25 years old, so it's like, you've done so many great things at a very young age. So Lou, if you're watching me, and I'll definitely tell you so that you can come back and watch the show, I love you, and I thank you, and I celebrate you, and I think you are amazing, just for being you. So also yesterday, I do have to share this before I forget. I just have it fresh in my mind, and I know Olga is watching. She was there yesterday. So yesterday we had the opportunity to celebrate Too Much of a Woman festival that happened in Hampton, in the American Theater as well. Roberta Lee is a country singer from the 757, and I met her. I remember meeting her when she first picked up a guitar, and she's like probably 10, 12 years ago. And she's like, I'm not a singer. I just like to write little songs, and this is what I do. And, she started coming to the open mics, and now, she is a recording artist, nationally recognized. Like all the big things. And the festival yesterday was amazing. I had the opportunity to be part of the headlining event, together with with two of my poetry sisters as well. And we got the opportunity to introduce the three headlining acts, starting with poetry, and then went into music, then poetry, then music. And we got to do group pieces, individual pieces, and show a side of poetry that a lot of people maybe didn't know. It was weird because it was not the usual crowd that we are used to. We're used to, getting into a room and you see people doing this and and reacting, whatever. These are people that don't usually get to see poetry, so we didn't get much reaction. But afterwards, it was like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that, and I didn't know how to react. I didn't know what to do. So it was beautiful to kind of see the impact of the music, of the poems, of the whole gathering and celebrating of women. So big kudos to everybody that had anything to do with the event yesterday. I think I said that in the group. It was amazing. amazing. And again, it was beautiful to see how many people came together to give Roberta all the support. Her husband, like we corner him at the door of the theater, and we're like, you know what? We see you. We just want to say that you are amazing. We see you running around so that she doesn't have to. We see the support. We see the celebrating, and you are amazing. We just wanted to tell you that we see you. And he was like, okay, thank you, but it was just beautiful to see, what they did coming together to put such a beautiful event. So again, hats off to that team. And again, just for me, just the opportunity to be in the room celebrating women, and just kind of sharing a little bit of my story. So
That's excellent. Yeah, the American Theater does an amazing job at the events that they hold there, and I encourage you all to find a theater like that, or a place where it could be a community center in your community or a surrounding community neighborhood, because usually if we don't look for the information, it might not find us. But I'm
mhm.
telling you, usually if you seek it, if you go to a local library or get involved with your city, you should be able to find something. And if you don't find something, hey, you could always create it. Um, so most definitely, I think that's great, Maddie, to be able to highlight women, to give exposure to new people, and them not knowing. And I'm sure you're like, oh my God, do they like it? Do they not like it?
It
But
was
then
fun, Racking.
but then at the end, to know that they did enjoy, and they did like it, because most people love the diversity. They love learning new culture. They love trying new foods. So we really like to experience newness. At the end of the day, most of us do. So I think that's great that you were a part of that. Is that something that is going to happen every year, or?
So this was the first one, and actually they were like, even before the day was over, they were in talks already, saying that they wanted to bring it back. So I'm pretty sure at least next year, it's already on for next year, and they wanted to do it around International Women's Day. So it happened yesterday. So and like I said, it was beautiful. You just had to be there, and I know they had events going on from 10 a.m. all the way until I think we finished at like 11, like 10:30 last night, So it was a really long day, but there was events happening all throughout the day. And it was different sides. It was, music writing. It was, the business of music. It was so many things. And you could take so many little nuggets here and there. So it was beautiful. But yes, it is coming back next year. And I know that for a fact. So.
Well, that's going to be amazing. I look forward to it. I like that. What's a piece of advice that you would give a younger you today in 2026, living in 2026? So, like the women like Lou, for example.
I think the the best advice that I got, and I think I've said this in this show before, was a poet that I met when I first started doing poetry. And she was an older woman. I think she was in her 60s at that time. And she has since, passed away. But my biggest complaint was that I wanted to do so many things, and there was not enough time. Like I had things going on, and I wanted to go to this open mic, but my kids had something going on, and I had to miss it. That there was this big event going on, and I wanted to go support, but I had something going on at work. So like there was always like I couldn't always do what I wanted to do. And she said, you can have everything you want, just not all at the same time. And that resonated with me. And now that I'm older, I do see it. I've lived my life. I've done so many things, and it's like I look back and I'm like, yeah, I did that once. Yeah, I did that. I've been through that. I know that feeling. And, you were talking about, the gatherings that your mom is having, no gossip, no, and I think, as we get older, that's another thing that I'm learning. You learn that, you don't have the time and the capacity that you had, 20 years ago. So you start prioritizing what you give your time to, and your mind to, and it's like this, like, for me personally, it was like, this person doesn't like me, and I can't understand why they don't like me. And it was so important for me to try to find a solution of why this person didn't like me, even if it was a person that I didn't get to see my everyday life. But it was so important, that, let me, get to know me, and then you can make it. Like, it was so important to me before, and now it's like, I respect everyone, and I understand that I'm not for everybody, and if you don't like me, it's okay. I respect, your opinion, but it doesn't make me or break me, if that makes any sense. So, while before it was like so important to, it's important that I can get you to like me, because I know if you get to know me, you're going to like me. It's like, okay, this is me. And if you want to get to know me, I'll be more than happy to kind of, show you a little bit more of me. If you don't care for me, then it's okay. I respect that. It was a pleasure meeting you, So, and I think that's something that you just learn with age, and maturity, like we were talking about. So, it's just different when you get older. It's just different. You start giving your time and your emotions, where it where it helps, if that makes any sense.
Hmm. Oh, definitely. And be okay with it. You
Yeah.
know, be okay that the person rejected you or didn't embrace what you brought to the table. Because I think sometimes that's the hardest part, right?
Mhm.
Just accepting that, hey, it's just not a good fit, male or female. And even sometimes with our own children or family members, it's probably not good. It's not a good fit right now. It might be later at a later time,
Mhm.
but just not at the moment. I think that's great advice, Maddie. So I do receive that as well. But I just think it's that sense of freedom, the sense of ownership. Even though there's times that we're not very secure of ourselves, but just kind of like reminding ourselves. I always, as I have evolved, um, I have learned to give myself grace. And when I'm in a routine that I like, but then I fall off of the routine, just to give myself a friendly reminder. I have learned to be okay with that, because before I would just be hard on myself, calling myself a procrastinator, or, these negative connotation type of words. But I have really learned to just catch myself and then go back, because we're normal. I know a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a lady and she did something, and I was like, oh my God, you're not perfect. Like, you're not a robot, So I just think it's normal for things to happen. And it's okay to, for the public to see that we made a mistake.
Mhm. Yeah, and I also think, like, I don't know about everybody else, but like for me, I'm very much in my head, and sometimes if I make a mistake, and I think about it, and I will think about it, and I will think about it, and I will dwell on it for days, and sometimes, when we say things out loud, when you repeat things, because sometimes, we just internalize everything, and it just keeps, turning in your head, and in your head it's like really, really bad. And then if you talk about it, and if you say it out loud, you're like, wait, that that doesn't sound that bad. It doesn't sound as bad when you speak it out loud than when it's just in your head. So that's another thing that that I encourage everybody to do. Sometimes we make a mistake, and when you make a mistake, just say it out loud. And even if it still hurts for a little bit, the more you say it out loud, the better that it might get. And we're human, and we will, make mistakes, and we just have to kind of learn from them, because that's the only way to learn, to make a mistake. So,
Yeah, because they're going to happen.
hmm
I don't know, not one person that has gone through life and not made a mistake. So they are going to happen. So before we go to your poem of the day, I do want to acknowledge Juliana Alcazar. She said hello to us on one of our social media platforms. And I just hope that we, on purpose, as Tangi would say, have an amazing week. Give yourself grace, whether you're a male or a female. Give yourself grace and do something special for you this month. I went to church this morning and the pastor was talking about, and he's late 40s. He said, for the first time in my life, I went to get a pedicure and a manicure. It was forced on him, and he was like, I don't know what I've been missing. Like I'm hooked. So I just think it's important to do some self love. And it doesn't have to be Women's Month. Just try to create a new routine, maybe once a month or 3 times a year. Just do something that will give you growth, internal growth, mental growth, emotional growth. But we're ready for your poem, Maddie.
Thank you. So before I get into poem, just kind of want to reinforce a little bit of what you said, Viviana. It's important to kind of love on ourselves. We sometimes forget about ourselves. We tend to give ourselves or pour so much of ourselves into others, and we forget to kind of do the same for ourselves. Sometimes I saw things that I was doing for myself as being selfish. There's so many other things that I could be doing, like spending money on myself for whatever. I have one more bill that I could have paid with that money. I have, my son needed something that I may have needed to buy for him, my daughter, and it's like we feel guilty. But I work really hard, and it's not, why do I only spend on others and not on myself? So saying that to say, like you said, don't feel guilty for taking a moment for yourself, your own time. Give yourself your own time. Return some of that, capacity back to yourself. Love on yourselves, whatever that may look like, whether it is spending money on yourself or just reading a book by yourself. We deserve that. Thank you to all the women, the fantastic women, in my life. My mom is one of 12 children, so I grew up with 7 aunties. There were 8 sisters, and I love all of them for different reasons. Have relationships with all of them. Again, I'm the oldest of the granddaughters, so I have been blessed to have been able to build a special relationship with all of my aunties. I can tell you different stories about all of them, and I am so proud of them. But I love them. Again, the woman that I will always love like no other in my life, my mom. So blessed to have had her for the time that I did, and I learned so much from her, and I miss her every day. But again, all my friends and the women in my life, like you, Viviana, that support me. And even if we're not close all the time, just know how to send that text or that message or that call at the right time. And I appreciate all of you. So, thank you. And again, Feliz Día Internacional de la Mujer. I am going to read our Que Pasa, Mujer poem that I wrote for the show a little while ago, but I think, it applies for any time of the year. So this is for all our women that are watching us today. So, ¿qué pasa, mujer? Why are you so down? Adjust your crown and walk with pride. Don't be afraid to let the crowd know you have arrived. Shake the insecurities of your hips. Lick the salty syrup of your lips. You are a queen. Never forget the struggle it took to build you up, the trauma that followed you from generations ago, and you just kept trying to outrun. Yes, you may have stumbled along the way, willing to give up, lost inside the pain, but in the midst of it all, Atabe Oshun, Mother Earth, reminded you whose daughter you are. That you may have your daddy's eyes, but you are all mother fire inside. You carry her will to survive, her tenacity to never back down from a fight. She will always be the flame that reminds you to burn. ¿Qué pasa, mujer? Why are you allowing doubt to sit at your table? Look back at the ones you have loved, the children you get to call your own, the success you have managed to design. A combination of colors no one would think to have, turning different into a trademark, accepting at times that dinner will still be amazing, even if the table is only set for one. ¿Qué pasa, mujer? I know sometimes it's easier to settle for less, to think that is all you deserve because society lets you to think that way. Remember, you are a star existing in a constellation where others assume the object is to outshine the other star. But no, not you. You be your own sun. Let your light be that I am still standing message you shout out to everyone you know. Recognize each rotation as a different stage in your life. You must learn to extract the joy out of every moment. Celebrate the good with all the bad. Give yourself grace. All the good you put out in the universe will come back to you in due time. Let them feel your heat. Understand that you may be too much for some, yet necessary for others to know, and that is where your magic lies. You can fly, travel to the other side of the Milky Way, make friends out of worlds you never thought you would interlace, and then you learn that we are more alike than different when we let our stories be heard, that as women, we are innate creators with a capacity to give or take, rulers of our own castles. We will always have the last say. Stay true to yourself. Every lesson learned becomes a teaching moment when we share with one another, making each generation stronger than the next. We are warriors. We are saviors, givers of life, responsible for passing down knowledge like only a nurturer can. Never doubt your strength. You are power personified. You are phenomenal. Eres mujer.
That was amazing. Well, that was a nice reminder for myself to use my magic this week. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I hope you all have an amazing week. Um, Today is Sunday, March the 8th. 2026. So hopefully Mark won't run the show on a different day that is not March 8th, 2026. But yeah, I just want to really take the time this week. I heard a young lady say every day, this might be a lot for some, but you could do it twice a day, but at least two times a day for 7 minutes, just sit in silence. Take 7 minutes and just sit in silence for 7 minutes, whether you do it in your car, in your bed, in the bathroom. Just be still for 7 minutes twice a day. She said 3 times a day. You can't do it 3 times a day, do it twice a day. If you can't do it twice, do it once. Build up to it. But do take the time to just be still, to settle your mind, settle your emotions, your heart, your body. So I really encourage everyone to do it, as I'm also talking to myself to do it. So I just want to make sure that you guys have an amazing week. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you to everyone who was watching us today. Thank you to whoever's going to be watching us the rest of the week, because sometimes they get played throughout the week in other platforms. So I just want to say thank you, and we do not take you for granted at all. So we will see you next Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Oh my God, we forgot to tell them the economy number.
Don't forget.
Maddie.
Sorry, Viviana has something else that she's got to share with you.
Yes. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Latinos contribute 4.3.
We'll say 3.
We'll say 3. Sometimes 2, but hey, it's in the force. $4.3 trillion to the US economy. Okay. So let's continue to keep our jobs, make the money, spend the money, rotate the money. That's what we do. So just keep that in mind. Yes, you see? That's part of the $4.3 trillion. Hey, we appreciate it. I thank God every day that when a bill comes, I'm able to pay it. Or my son calls me because he needs $1,400. Thank you, God, that I had the money to give it to him. So yes, we almost forgot, Maddie. Jesus.
Almost. But let's see, with 60 seconds to spare, so we're
Yep,
good.
there you go. We made it. Sounds good. Well, thank you, and thank you, Mark, as well, our producer, for everything that you do. Thank you. Have a nice week.
Where would we be without Rosa Parks?
Or Billie Holiday.
Or Sally Ride.
Or Maya Angelou. It's hard to move forward without looking back.
And acknowledging. Celebrating.
And thanking.
The women who broke the walls and shattered the glass ceiling.
So the rest of us could follow.
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 I'm thrilled to see everybody here. Welcome, welcome. This is a wonderful event as we celebrate Women's History Month at the White House. It's so exciting.
Women are now in every sector of our society, leading businesses, serving at the highest levels of government and the armed forces. We're breaking barriers and succeeding in careers that our mothers and grandmothers never could have imagined.
The first law I signed when I came into office was the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. We have expanded paid sick days and equal pay for more families, created more opportunities for women small business owners.
We as a nation benefit from every girl whose potential is fulfilled, from every woman whose talent is tapped.
And that is why we celebrate Women's History Month. Not to get complacent, but to take a moment each year and celebrate the achievements that women have fought so hard to achieve and to rededicate ourselves to tackling the challenges that remain.
Keep on fighting and working toward a better day for all of us. We have more work to do.
Are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be.
A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.